Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Ben Crossman, and I hope all of you are having a wonderful day out there so far, and we can make it a little bit better with, of course, Computer America. So, by the way, yesterday's program really went well, and I wanted to bring some more attention to it. We talked with the author of The Fourth Age, and it's all about AI, robotics, things like that. Definitely like talking with authors because you can really tell that they put some real effort into research and things like that. So even though, hey, most authors write maybe a book a year, that one time a year, it's going to be a lot of fun. So, you could definitely check that out. And again, it was a lot of fun talking to Byron Reese. So, with that being said, we can, of course, continue or at least start today's show. And today, hey, also an author, but we're going to be talking about a bunch of different things, including, of course, the WWDC. We're going to be talking about Google Home, and we'll probably start with digital assistants because that is an ongoing topic, one that you think you have covered, you think you have nailed, and then along comes 2 months, and they add a whole bunch of new features. And hey, it's going to be a lot of fun. So joining us is, as I said, Sandy Berger. She is our consumer electronics expert and all around just, very opinionated reviewer of products. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So a couple of things before we get to, Sandy, including computeramerica.com. That's where you'll find everything from from a link to her website to any articles that we discuss, just anything and everything will be right there. Also, be sure to check out the social media contests brought to you by Logitech, and be sure to check out the live video stream brought to you by OWC. So, with morning announcements done, why don't we go ahead and get things kicked off? So, like I said, Sandy Berger, longtime correspondent and consumer electronics expert. Sandy, how you doing? Welcome back onto Computer America.
I'm doing great, Ben. Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure, our pleasure. And, obviously a lot of things have happened since you've last been on. And I think a good place to start would be, a topic near and dear to your heart. Actually, before we even get started, tell the folks what you do and, just how you got your credentials to be on Computer America.
Oh, well, I've been in the computer world for a long, long time, Ben. I started off as a computer programmer, and so I went through all of the basics of how computers work. And from there, I went on to develop my own consulting company, which I still have. I still do some consulting, not as much as I used to, but I also, for the past 15 years or so, have become a technical journalist. So basically, that means I write about technology, and I write in newspaper columns, magazine columns. I have my own website, which is CompuKiss.com, and put all my great information on there. I have to say, though, Ben, you called me opinionated, and that can have a very negative meaning to that word. What I do, I review a lot of products and I try to be on top of all the new things, and I do always give my opinion. That's true.
Gotcha.
But I tell the truth about what I think is how the product is. If it's good, bad, has drawbacks or none. So I do give my opinion. okay?
I gotcha. No,
All right.
right. And I said opinionated. Obviously, giving your opinion, I'm sure there's some distinction to be had there. We'll leave that to Merriam-Webster. And in the meantime, why don't we go ahead and get started with our topics? So, like I said, digital home assistants, they're something that you adopted early into with the Amazon Alexa, and that was a number of years, like really, I think about 2 years ago now. Seems like just yesterday.
Yeah.
But they were, compared to what they are today, pretty darn primitive. Like, they could tell you the weather, they could tell you they could read headlines verbatim, but they couldn't really do a whole lot. But I guess you saw potential early, and talk about kind of the current state of digital home assistants, and then we'll get into the new features that Google Home has added.
Well, you're absolutely right. I got the first Amazon Alexa before it came on the market for everyone, and that was 3 years ago. I think it was 2015.
Mm,
And she could do a lot of things. She could read books and tell jokes and all that. I, but the potential that was to me was so dramatic that I immediately fell in love with this Echo. Um, now, what's happened in the past 3 years is that the Echo has gotten better and better at no extra charge. So I still have my original Echo. She does all the things she did when I got it, but now she's got a ton of other things that she can do as well. In the meantime, last year, Google Home came out,
hmm
and that is the Google Alexa, as you might say. By the way, Alexa is the name that you call the Echo, in
Right.
case anybody doesn't know. Um, anyway, Google Home came out with their own, and so there's a big competition between those two. Now, there is also an Apple Home device, but the Apple Home device just hasn't really taken off. It's a little more expensive than the others, and actually, in my opinion, can't do as much. So I kind of focus on Google Home and Amazon Echo. And
And I mean, just real quick, Apple. I was later on in the program. We're going to talk about the WWDC. That's their developer conference, where you'd think that they'd mention more and more about hardware. Hardware was lacking, but software, and they're working some functionality in there, but Apple approached their digital assistant as a music lover's dream. And you've had some high praise for Google Homes, and their Google, like the big one that costs like $300 or $400. I mean, you said that Apple was lacking. Does Apple lack in all areas, or are they just focusing on kind of maybe what you think are the wrong areas?
well, they're focusing on music. You're absolutely right. But the Google Max, which costs about the same price, $400, as the Apple Home is a little less expensive, 360 or something like that. Um, they sound amazing, both of them, for playing music. But I think that Google has a lot more integration with other devices and with whole home audio, and the things that you can do with Google, even in music, I think are better than those you can do with the Apple Home device. Now, the really main thing is that Google is just plain better than Siri. I mean, by a wide margin. You can have the two devices together side by side and ask questions, and within 5 minutes, you're going to know that Google knows a lot more and is better at answering questions, is better at other devices, controlling other devices, just overall better.
Right. No, and that is of course a big part of digital assistants. It's not just it's not just an encyclopedia for you. It's not just something that controls your lights. It's not just something that will play music for you. But it's all of those, and fluidity has to, I guess, factor in. So
Right.
makes perfect sense. So obviously, like you said, Google Home and Amazon Alexa, the two in the market. Amazon, of course, a huge juggernaut, but maybe not to the extent that I think Google with their digital assistant, because Google Google has their hands in a lot of different pies, including data and voice and translation, things like that. Uh, so I mean, right now you wouldn't really recommend one over the other, or it's just whichever ecosystem you're currently more invested in. No clear winner so far between the two.
Well, they're both winners.
Okay.
The bottom line is they're both winners. So you could use either one equally well. I believe that Google has a big edge in music, but that's because Google can do music over Wi-Fi, which I believe sounds better than music over Bluetooth.
Mm-hmm.
Google does have the big machine that's $400, but the sound is fabulous on that. They both have the regular size machines and then smaller machines. So they're kind of neck and neck in a lot of things. Google is better, in my opinion, at answering questions. So, but I don't say to somebody, go out and buy Google or buy Alexa. If you really want to decide what you can do and how to do it, buy one of each. They're $40 for the little ones. You can buy a Google Home, and you can buy, I think they're still $40. They're right around there anyway. You can buy an Alexa and you can buy a Google Home and put them side by side and see how they do. Ask them the same questions. You can't do everything that you can do if you have a whole house full of them, but it'll give you a really good idea of what the devices can do.
I gotcha. So let's talk about what's new, because a lot of what we've said so far are things that you could already do, for a number of months. But as we said, they're continually being developed. And I think that, it wasn't too long ago that Amazon, like one of the biggest, I don't want to say quirks, but one of the biggest edges that you gave to Google was the fact that you could play music simultaneously through multiple Google devices, whereas Amazon, you had to, I guess, maybe, I don't know, run through your house and scream all at the same time. But and kind of hope that it all worked out. But I think Amazon since then has added that functionality along with some intercom functionality. What are some of the new features that you'd really like to draw attention to?
Well, the one thing that I think you brought out in what you just said is how they leapfrog each other. So Google will come out with a new feature, and then Amazon will come out with that same feature, or Amazon will come out with a new feature, and Google will come out with the same feature. And it's really, really beneficial to the end user because you're not paying any extra for this. You just get up in the morning and your device can do more than it could yesterday. And I think that is a fantastic thing, and one of the reasons that I'm so in love with these devices, just because you don't have to pay every year to buy a new device.
Right.
It's coming down the pike automatically. As far as what they can do, it's unbelievable what they can do. They have both added a broadcast feature, an intercom feature, you might say. So basically, you ask in different ways, but like say for Google Home, you can say, hey, use the name, and then you say, broadcast this, and it'll say, what do you want to broadcast? And then you just say 2 sentences or however much you want to say right there, and it'll broadcast it to all the other Google Home devices in your house. Or you can tell it which one to broadcast to, which is really great for kids, for my husband when he happens to be watching TV and I'm in the other room, but I need him for something. I can say, hey, just tell Google to broadcast it. And Amazon has exactly the same feature.
And I mean, just real quick, that's a really cool feature. I mean, at the same time, I kind of hope that there's a certain features, because in our home we use basic landline. It's voice over IP, because we're techie. But I think everyone should, landlines suck. But I will say that we use this one phone, and it has an intercom feature. And the one pet peeve I have with it is that if I don't know where someone is and I want to reach them, there's an option to ring all of the phones simultaneously. Perfect. Great. Works. More often than not, the wrong person picks up, and they know who they are. They're listening. Shame on them. But they pick up consistently before anyone else, and they know I'm never trying to reach them. And I wish there was a way to differentiate who you're trying to ring, who you're trying to get when you do a mass broadcast or a mass intercom, like maybe with like a separate ringtone or a separate thing, like. And
you're saying if you've got 10 devices, you want all 10 of them to ring, but one to ring differently or something like that.
Right, two or three different ringtones so that the right person can pick up without having to pick up and go, "Hi, is this blank?" And it's like, "No." And it's like, "Is she there?" "No." "All right then." And then you hang up and you try again. It's annoying. Is there any kind of feature that differentiates, maybe who you're trying to contact as opposed to just everyone?
I think that on Google Home, you can just focus on, you can say broadcast to the living room or broadcast to the bedroom, that sort of thing. Now, I'm not absolutely positive about that because I don't use that.
Right.
I just use my broadcast everywhere because it's just my husband and I in the house. So that works out really well.
So you have the same feature here where you can call individual rooms, but my big thing is like, I wish I could select, ringtone 1, 2, or 3 so that person 1, 2, or 3 knew that they could, and I'm not sure how Amazon or Google works. Like, I don't know if you just kind of say, hello or, start talking, but just some way to differentiate between everyone.
I think that's a feature that can easily be added, and that's what they're doing. Both Amazon and Google keep adding more and more features, which I think is really great.
Right.
I did want to talk about whole house music because you mentioned that.
Sure.
And Alexa can do home house music now. That time when we talked, I think only Google could do it. And now you can just say to Alexa, play such and such music, play my playlist everywhere, or whatever you have called the group. And it will transmit to everywhere, and Google works basically the same way. The only problem with the setup is that you have to actually create groups. So everywhere is easy. Hey, I can have my whole house playing the same music from either Google or Amazon in a minute, and it's wonderful. However, when you only want, and this is kind of back to what you're saying about the intercom, if you only want it to play on 3 speakers, say you have 8 speakers in your house, you only want it to play on 3 speakers, you have to create a group. And that's easy to do. You do it in the app. However, you have to remember what that group name is, which after you have created like 5 different groups, it gets kind of difficult to remember which ones are in which group. It would be easier if you could just on the fly maybe pick up your phone or something and choose what to play. And Sony has an app, but it's only for Sony devices. However, that app does exactly that. You can, from your phone, you can change where things are playing. So there's somebody out there already doing that, and I think if it's possible for Google and Amazon to do it, they'll do that soon too.
Right. And that's, of course, something that I was surprised Apple doesn't do more often. And sometimes they do it. Sometimes I believe, when we talk about them, they have a lot of apps coming out that for fitness products and fitness-minded apps
Right.
with the WWDC. But I always wondered, it's like, why doesn't Apple, and this is going to mess with people, and I'm not sure if there's any kind of legal recourse, but why wouldn't Apple or Amazon or Google look at what's popular, look at what's trending, look at what people are kind of craving from the App Store, look at the number 1 download and say, all right, people want this and they want it a lot. So let's do it instead of waiting for a third party.
Right.
And I guess, it kind of messes with, if they do come out with a first party app as opposed to a third party app, that, kind of works over the third party person. But
Right.
I guess, so you're saying that if Sony has it, then eventually you think Amazon is going to get it.
Chances are very good that they will. Ben, I'm going to have to take a little break. I'll be
Sure.
right back, okay?
Sure, go do your thing. All right, so everyone, of course, we're talking to Sandy Berger. She's our consumer electronics expert, and she is running off to actually deal with something real quick. But hey, that's okay. And by the way, another thing to mention about these smart speakers and these digital assistants, as we as we kind of go over them, one thing that's happened since since they, of course. Since we last talked about them, let me get this right. I believe it's the Amazon Look came out for not just insiders or not just people who were invited to take part in it, but now anyone out there who wants to, hey, kind of buy this thing now has access to the Amazon Look, or at least the Amazon Echo Look. This is a standalone free camera that does a couple of pretty cool AR, AR kinds of things, and that has since come out for everyone since we were last talking. So I believe Sandy is back, and we're going to just go ahead and kind of pick it back up. And Sandy, in the couple of seconds you gave me there, I mentioned that since we last talked about Amazon, the Amazon Look came out for everyone as opposed to just people who were invited to purchase it. So
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah.
Amazon Look is a very interesting device. I don't know if we talked about it on the show previously. I had
once
an
before.
Amazon.
Yeah.
I had a Look, and they've added a ton of new features, just like every other device that they have. So now it can not only take a look at what you're wearing and tell you which outfit looks better, but it can suggest accessories to go with it. And of course, this is a big selling point for Amazon because, hey, if they show you something you like and you buy it, you're going to go right there and buy it. But it's a unique device, very unique, in that if you're a fashionista, you're going to love it. And if you're not, you're probably going to take a pass.
There you go. No, and just want to mention that because it's something that Google doesn't do. And a lot of these digital assistants, I think the Max actually might come with I think it's like the Google Video or Google Max. One of them actually does have a webcam built in. Many of these smart speakers don't have webcams built in.
Right.
I guess that might be like why does it need it to do what it can do, or others are like, well, it's a privacy thing, although hey, you're miking up your home, but whatever. But the Look was very different, where it's almost exclusively a camera that you set up into a place where maybe you change clothes. Very, very strange, but
well, it's the idea. No, don't give the wrong idea. It's not taking pictures of you changing clothes. Basically, you set it up in any room you like, and then you put an outfit on. You go and snap the picture in front of it and change something in the outfit. Say I have a red sweater on, and then I put a green one on. And then go take another picture, and Google will compare those two pictures, let you see what you looked like in each outfit, and tell you which one looks better, because they do things by what's popular right now and what colors go together and all this other stuff that they have. So they tell you which one they think looks better on you.
So, and just real quick, we have a comment from the chat room, and I guess this is a common question because this is something that pops up in the news once in a while, where I think since we last talked, there was a story that broke about 3 or 4 weeks ago about a conversation that was recorded. And I don't, you use these things, I don't. I don't know the odds of activating a digital assistant, saying keywords without recognizing them, recording a conversation, and then sending it to a contact that you really didn't specify, and all that happening without your knowledge. But that's what happened with Amazon and sending a recorded conversation. I think they were just talking about like floors, but essentially, it really poked people into thinking privacy. It's like, are these things private?
Right.
So the question in the chat room is, these things don't creep her out, her being, of course, you, Sandy Berger, always listening and or watching. period.
Okay. All right. Well, when you started the conversation talking about this, you said, what are the odds that this could happen? You statistically, you probably have a better chance of winning the lottery than you do of having one of these devices do what they say happened to this couple.
Mm,
Because there are so many. If you go through, they would have had to say, Google or Amazon Echo, do this, do that, send it to so and so, and every time the device would come back and say, "Are you sure? Can you confirm that? Do you want to do that?"
right.
And then the device would have had to pick up another little bit of information that sounded just like their answer. So there's like 40 million, I think, of these devices out there right now. And if you say there's 40 million devices and people are talking to those devices, maybe each person is talking 20 times a day, you can imagine what the odds are of actually having a conversation like this recorded and sent. Also, the news media just took this over. Beautiful headlines, grabbers, Google, Amazon Echo is spying on you and all this stuff. I'm not worried about it because I don't think all that's true. I think they're just trying to make headlines. I could replicate, if I wanted to, I could replicate a conversation just like this couple had that they
Mhm.
say was overheard, and I could create it myself. Now, I'm not saying that the couple created it themselves. I'm just saying you could. And there's other things involved here.
Right.
Number one, you can turn the microphone off anytime you want. If the device has a camera, you can turn the camera off anytime you want. And it's just, I don't know. They do listen for your wake word, and they would have had to say the name Alexa like several times during this conversation. So um,
I,
I'm not
it's-
saying it didn't happen. I'm saying it could happen, and it could happen again. It's just very, very rare. The other thing you can do is if you want to make sure something like that doesn't happen, don't give the device access to your contacts.
mhm.
See, the device has access to only what you give it access to. So if they had never put their contacts in, then that couldn't have happened. So
Right. And I believe Amazon came out very, very quickly and they said that they're looking into it. And I'm sure that if you tried to completely word for word try to have that conversation again, Amazon would have thrown something in the mix by now that would make it so that that wouldn't even happen. So,
that's right. Yeah.
hey, constantly improving means constantly improving in a lot of ways. And she says that it still rubs her paranoia. And, that's something that we have a conversation we have on the show a lot, and it's the way technology is going. It's the more data we create, the more convenient our lives get, and you can't doubt that digital assistants do add a level of convenience that nothing else can. But you're also giving up more data that other things cannot pick up from you.
It is, yeah, it is always a trade between privacy and ease of
Convenience,
use,
right?
convenience. It's always a trade between convenience and privacy. There's
Right.
no doubt about it. And we have all given up a little bit of our privacy already, actually, quite a bit of our privacy, because of all the things that we've given permission to, and they use our stuff. Um, if I can understand this lady's paranoia, and I have some friends who actually have an Echo and they use it, but they turn it off when they're not using it,
Mm,
and that's perfectly fine because they don't want anybody to overhear their conversations. I don't personally. I know enough about the technology, and I know these devices have been taken apart many, many different times by experts
right.
to make sure that they are not listening to everything we say or recording everything we say. So in that manner, I'm relying on the technology.
Right.
It does make your life easier, though, and I can't see being without it because you're so nervous about it.
Right.
You'd have to get rid of all your computers and laptops and cell phones if you really want to be worried about your privacy so much.
Exactly, and but hey, I think it's just having a physical thing there. But when it comes to, I guess, software on your cell phone, you really don't think about it. But it's
It's there too.
yeah, it's about the same. So let's get back to some of the features. Actually, we're going to music should start about now. There you go. So yeah, we're gonna come back in just a moment and wrap up the features that have happened over the time, and then we'll talk about some AT&T Time Warner merging because hey, when someone shells out, I think it's like 60 billion or something like that. It's worth taking note of, and well, it's a lot of billions. But in the meantime, everyone, Sandy Berger, CompuKiss, consumer electronics expert. We'll be right back. Computer America.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
800-215-4461. 800-215-4461. 800-215-4461. That's 800-215-4461.
We are all Brother Wolf. 10 years ago, a group of locals banded together to create positive change. We took animals into our homes, held adoption events at local retailers, and talked to the community about our mission to help build a no-kill Asheville. A decade later, we have achieved so many victories for animals in need. There's been so much progress, yet there's still so much to do. As part of our year-long celebration, we encourage you to become a member of our special Compassionate Circle program. With a monthly donation of $10 or more, you will have behind-the-scenes access to the work we are doing at Brother Wolf. Our goal is to reach 1,000 members because we receive no government funding. Working together, we can help build and sustain no-kill communities. Learn more at compassionatecircle.bwar.org. We are a 501c3 tax-deductible organization.
And welcome back to the Computer America Show. It is 32 minutes past the hour as we continue on here. And we are, of course, talking to Sandy Berger. We are talking all things digital assistants. And, we're really focusing on some of the changes that have happened over the past couple of weeks when it comes to these devices because, change is good. Sandy, I'll go ahead and let you kind of pick up on, some of the, another change that's happened recently. I think I know what you're talking about. I have it up on the screen. Go for it. Mm-hmm.
And I found this company that actually made it portable by making it look like another case. And I think it's phenomenal in that it's unusual. It's something Google should come out with by themselves, and maybe they will. But in the meantime, this loft idea is fabulous. I mean, what you do is you take the base off the Google Home, you slide this new base on, and it comes in 3 different colors. It comes in chrome, white, and black. So it's got the speaker cover is metallic looking,
Hmm.
and and then you replug the plug into the bottom to charge it up. But when you're ready to use it, you just unplug it and take it outside on the patio or take it into the bathroom where you don't have to have an outlet or wherever you want it to be. And I've had it for about a month. It works seamlessly. The only thing I will say is wrong with it, not really wrong with it, but it can be difficult to pull the plug out of the Google, the base from Google, and that's a Google thing. Now, normally you're not pulling that plug out often, so it's a little difficult. With my long fingernails, I don't have a problem. If you don't have any fingernails, you might have to get a little device to get that out. But that's the only thing. I've been using it, picking it up. It charges. It plays for about at least 15 hours. So you can have it out. I use mine on the patio a lot. Take it out there all day. The advantage, okay, this is now a portable Google Home, but it's a full Google Home device.
Hmm.
So if I was playing music through one of my Bluetooth speakers on the patio, and I was using Google or Alexa to play that music, I would have to go in the house and tell it when I want to change music or play a different song or skip a song or whatever. So out on the patio, I can now, through this device, just say, play a different song, stop, go, give
Hmm.
it instructions. It can do everything that Google Home can do.
So, the obvious thing that comes to mind is the fact that this is something that is made by a third party company, made all the more transparent because, well, if you're like me, you simply went to Google, typed in, you typed in 97
Right,
battery for Google Home, and the first link that pops up is an Amazon link to buy it from Amazon.
right.
Yeah, and I thought there was no better justice between the two. But at the same time, this is obviously, like I said, available through Amazon, through a third party, not sold exclusively by Google.
Right.
I think Google has said something to the effect of they don't foresee anyone really caring enough to really make this thing portable, to have a need to make it portable. You have already outlined, maybe take it out in the backyard because Google Home is not weatherproof and, you want it portable. First question, are you finding enough of, I don't know if it's convenience or enough of a use to make it portable? Is that something that is appealing to you?
Yes. And that's something that I went looking for. Ben, a lot of companies send me their devices to review. Okay, they say, "Will you take a look at this?" And that sort of thing. This is a product that I went out and researched, and I actually bought it, and I bought it off of Amazon for $39 because it was $10 cheaper than Best Buy and everybody else had it. But I went and researched and looked for it and paid money for it because it was something that I felt was valuable for me.
Hmm. I got you. And then I guess the second question relates to the first is, uh, do you think that Google should, either make this a default option or an add-on, or do you think that, just having an option for battery instead of an outlet is a good thing?
I think it is personally. Now, I don't know how they would want to do it, but I think Google should come out with something like this. But if they don't, that's
Hmm.
no problem because other people are already picking up on this.
That's true.
And there are one thing that we didn't talk about with the devices is there are more Google and Alexa are being built into more and more speakers, devices of all sorts. So there's a new Fire TV Cube, it's called a Fire TV Cube, and that has Alexa built in. And there are a ton of speakers that have come out that have maybe one, the other, and some even have both built in, and some have the Apple Home built in. Um, so these are full-fledged devices that does everything else, but they have, their added feature. They're either a speaker or like the Fire TV attaches to the to the TV and streams videos.
Right.
So there's going to be more and more of these devices, whether they're put out by Google or they're put out by Amazon or they're put out by a third party. They're coming and they're hitting the marketplace like mad right now. I just happen to be willing to talk about this product because it performs beautifully.
Uh,
Now,
mhm.
I always try to keep things for at least 6 months and see how they are down the road. But I can tell you after a month of using this that it's fabulous. So now how many times I've been on the air and how often I've said something was fabulous. Maybe the first Amazon Echo got that.
Right. No,
Yeah.
it's definitely not often, and very high praise. I mean, just looking at other people's reviews, which, by the way, folks, always check out reviews. Recently had a family member who was burned on reviews, like had a horrible customer experience, and then went to go leave a bad Yelp review or something like that, and found many, 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 many other bad Yelp reviews already sitting there. So
Yeah.
always check reviews. But the only thing that they kind of mentioned was the lights on the LEDs on the base that show the charge. There's 4 dots.
Right.
Can be a little dim, but if that's your biggest problem, that's not
Right.
bad.
Yeah, and mine are not dim, and I saw those reviews as well. And mine are not dim, but I don't have it in bright sunshine.
That's true.
I think if you have this in bright sunshine, they're going to be dim. If you have it in a corner of the room where I have mine most of the time, they're quite bright. I can see from across the room. I can see the 4 little LED lights, which indicate that the battery is fully charged.
I gotcha. So
Yeah.
let's go ahead and move on to to the last of the features. And I found a list here with a couple of different features. And I'm not sure which one of these are like expressly very, very new, but they have everything from sports updates to weather forecasts to local news and traffic. Kind of a local. We know that you live in X zip code, so we're going to give you relevant news. Is that new, or has that
Right.
been there?
That has been there for a while. They have improved, especially, let's just talk about Google.
Sure.
Google has definitely improved their local listings. They've also improved the way they're finding local things. So it's just much better than it used to be. Both Alexa and Google Home have actually recently come out with the ability to handle compound requests.
Right.
So therefore, if you say, Alexa, turn on the living room lights and turn the temperature down, she can do that. Google has just announced this week that they can handle 3 things at once. Now you have to have an and or an or in between them so that the device knows that it's a separate command.
Right.
But it works like a charm, and it works also not only with devices, but with questions. So I can say, Alexa, who's the president of the United States and how tall is he? And you see, I didn't have to go back and say Alexa again. I could just make that compound, and they'll come back and say the president is Trump, and he's 6 foot. What is he? 6'3"?
Yeah, he's tall.
Yeah. So anyway, that's a very useful feature that they both just added recently, and that again is something that's going to get better and better as they handle understanding more of a variety of people and how they say things.
Right. And I actually see that here where I believe what you're talking about is follow-up mode, but that's disabled by default. So I guess people don't accidentally, give it multiple commands without realizing it. But I guess if they want to activate follow-up mode, then you're good to go. So
Right. And I did not even have to activate that on my Google Home. It just automatically came down. So
right.
I will say one other feature that's been added not a little while ago, but it's a very, very good feature, is I'm not sure if it works with Alexa. I haven't tried it yet. But Google Home, you can hum or whistle a tune, and it will tell you not only what tune it is, but will play it for you.
Really? That's not bad.
Yeah. It's fun. It really is fun.
And I guess everyone's going to be trying to do somewhere over the rainbow just to see if they can. But yeah, that's it. But at the same time, that also leads to a bit of pain for me, because it's like when you're trying to spell a word, but you're so far off. The sum of Google with their billions of entries are like, dude, you're so off, we don't even know. And it's like,
Yeah, well,
ouch.
I think you do have to carry a tune.
Right, exactly. So good luck with that. But not half bad. A lot of new features. And let's see, I believe Amazon has Amazon Blueprints. Google lets you make your own task as well. There was an article I think I read today that said that whatever skills that you create on Amazon, you're going to be able to share them much more easily in like their skills marketplace kind of deal. So, if you thought it was pretty good before, just like when they opened it up to third parties and you could, famously order a pizza with your voice, as soon as they let, everyone kind of have access to it and create skills, then it's going to get a lot more useful, and you just have to find, kind of like the App Store, you have to find the good apps, and then you have the good skills.
Right, but the thing is about creating your own, like on Amazon Blueprints.
Mm-hmm.
You go on Amazon's app and you create this, but it gives you a template. So the template is already built, and all you have to do is answer the questions, or it's pretty flexible, but it's extremely easy. You need no programming experience. You just go in there, look at this template, and adjust it to the way you want. You can rename it. You can change the settings. It's really cool. It's great for kids. I mean, for kids that want to learn a little bit about programming, it's great. But it's great to make stories, your own stories up for kids and things like that. So I think Blueprints is something that, again, has just come out, but is going to be extremely popular.
Right. If nothing else, it reminds me of a service that you turned me on to, which I use every single day in, kind of an office setting. If this, then that. It's, another great service, and probably pretty similar. So there you go. All right. So we're going to go ahead and kind of move away from these things, because hardware-wise, not a lot to report. Everything is always software. And I think we should at least touch on the AT&T Time Warner, because we mentioned when it was first proposed, and they're like seeking approval and doing that kind of thing. Because when such large companies propose that they want to buy one out the other, it's a pretty big deal. And by the way, I said 63 billion, but I don't know if the price went up or not, but now it's at 85 billion for some reason. And they won approval from the Justice Department, I guess, was investigating this for anti-competitive behavior. Why did this catch your eye?
Well, actually, it was the Justice Department against the AT&T and Time Warner.
Right.
So it was the antitrust idea. The reason this caught my eye is because it's been in the news, because it's been so big. It's two huge entities. But the real thing about it is that this is a vertical integration rather than a horizontal integration. So up until now, most companies, if they're making software and they want to merge with another company that's making software, okay, that's, they can do that.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a company that's into AT&T, into communications, and Time Warner basically into data for movies and things like that. So it's really vertical, and most of these have not been approved at all. So this is the first one that's been approved, and it's huge, and there's going to be a million more that come right after this.
Right. And I believe the difference is this is a content distributor and a content provider. And
That's right.
Why that makes such a big deal is because we talked about net neutrality. Those rules officially were done away with, I believe, this Monday, like 2 days ago.
Right.
So one of the problems that we saw with net neutrality when it was the law of the land, one thing that content providers or that content distributors couldn't do was segregate between one person's content and another. Now they can. Again, we're 2 days into it, so no real evidence of that so far. But think of a world where AT&T, you use them for your cell phone data provider, and they say, because they now own Time Warner, they say that if you stream Time Warner content, that's not going to count against your data at all. And that's going to give people a lot more incentive to watch Time Warner content if they are AT&T customers. Things like that happen.
Well, there's a lot of things that could happen here. The one thing that I do know is that the reason that AT&T and Time Warner wanted to get together and do this is to go against Netflix and Amazon, who really are the big in streaming and providing content right now.
Right.
And the biggest concern is what's, as you said, what's going to happen? Will they give preference to their own or whatever? But I think at least for a good amount of time, the pure competition here is going to keep them on a straight and narrow. In other words, I think prices are going to be stable because they have to be, because they're working against Netflix, who charges $12 a month, and Amazon, that just charges with their Prime subscription, which comes out to be practically nothing if you use their 2-day shipping. Mm-hmm. So the competition alone for at least a considerable amount of time is going to keep prices stable.
So
that's my guess.
Yeah, and
not written in stone.
No, absolutely, and none of this is because, like you said, this is new territory. These are companies who are, getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and we don't know really the implications because, now it's not just one domineering company over all the others, but it's like 3 companies that are, kind of controlling the marketplace. And I'm sure that you remember this. Do you remember when Bell was broken up into the associated companies because they felt they had a monopoly in telephones? That was in the 80s, I believe. And if you look at the charts, if you look at the companies that have since been acquired and reacquired and joined and merged, Bell is essentially back together under AT&T. AT&T has sucked up all of its little gooplets of companies. And, we're heading into the idea of antitrust. You see where the Justice Department was, kind of investigating that. I want to bring up another merger that, by all accounts, is on the fence, just like AT&T and Time Warner was. What do you think about, I believe it's T-Mobile and Sprint want to join forces, and they say the exact same thing where they're like, currently there are 4 major carriers, and 2 of them want to join, and their line is, we need to be competitive, and this extra competition is going to be great for consumers, but we're going from 4 to 3 carriers. And I feel like this is something similar that we're seeing with AT&T and Time Warner.
Well, that is not as similar as some others. I agree that that's going to be affected by this, and they might be able to do it because of this. However, that's still going to be a bit problematic. The mergers that are going to happen now, everybody's after Fox assets.
Yeah.
And Disney has been trying to get that for a while, and now Comcast is trying to merge with Fox. Well, it's going to make that easier because those are, again, vertical rather than horizontal moves. The most interesting thing, Ben, is what is Verizon going to do now to compete with AT&T? Are they going to look for somebody to merge with? Their new president has said that he's going to focus on 5G, which I think is wonderful. I'd love to see that happen, but I think that the streaming industry has gotten so big now that it alone is making everyone want to get on board. And this merger is going to reset the entire media landscape.
It's certainly going to be a huge move. If nothing else, I want to say kudos to Netflix, where because they face such stiff competition now from Fox and Disney and things like that, where all of them are actively pulling their content as it goes off. off of Netflix because everyone sees Netflix as now the competition instead of the medium.
Right.
I would say kudos to Netflix for kind of seeing the writing on the wall and going, well, everyone's going to be against us here now, so we have to invest $10 billion, $8 billion into original programming. That was such a prescient move. I fear to think what would happen to Netflix if they didn't go all in on original programming because everyone is running from Netflix to make their own streaming service.
That's right. I mean, where this all boils down, we don't know. I do know one thing. You brought up the bell from the 1980s. This goes back a little further, and you might not remember this, but when cable TV first came out, it was free.
Yep.
There were no ads. And everybody jumped on it. This is wonderful. This is wonderful. Just like everybody's going for streaming right now. This is wonderful because it's saving us money. But when all this boils down and we get to the end of it, or, at least have some gelling to it, I don't know that it's going to be terribly good for the end user. I mean, you think cutting the cable is great and going to streaming is great, but that is changing so quickly that I don't know where the consumer is going to be left in the end of all this.
And at the same time, though, this is something I brought up a little while ago that I feel needs reiterating right now. And we talk a lot, especially, maybe with you or just on the show. We talk about, cutting the cord or just, ditching cable altogether. And at the same time, you hear you read these articles. They're like 600,000 people dropped cable last year. It was the best year for cord cutting ever. And then you look at how many people actually own cable, and it's been like a less than or like a 1% or less than 1% deviation into the overall number of cable customers. So it's kind of like what I said, writing on the wall, blah blah blah, but it's the cable industry slowly lurching an entire industry towards streaming, but it's not as big of a problem at the moment, which I think, to your point, where it's going to shake out, that's going to take 20 years to see. But, from the initial moves that we're seeing, I think that if you want all the content, and, before it was just get Netflix and you're good to go. Now, if you want all the content, you would be paying at least half of what you would a cable subscription already, just without the set-top box. It would just be coming over a data line.
Yes, I think it would be actually more than that, even right now. Because to get the local channels, you have to have something like DirecTV Now. To get to your sports, you have to have something else. So, everybody says we don't need 300 different cable channels. Yes, but what we want is our specific set of channels, the local channels you watch, the movie channels you watch, the sports channels you watch. Everybody is trying to give you that, but so far nobody has done it, at least not in a comprehensive way.
As soon as they do, then you're simply paying for a cable package over the internet. It's
exactly.
And everyone still gets their fees. Everyone still gets their money, and in the end, the consumer loses something that made streaming unique, which was a lot of content for comparatively a little amount. So,
which is absolutely true, because that's what I was getting at when I was talking about when cable was free.
Right.
It's the same thing. Eventually.
But the only thing is that if Fox and Fox has so much programming, I think that acquisition, more so than the AT&T and Time Warner acquisition, whoever gets Fox is going to be a major contender. And right now, Disney is so big. As soon as they come out with their streaming service, which they have indicated they want to do, and Hulu, who knows what's going to happen with that mess of a ownership battle. But but if Disney does acquire Fox, I also fear that, we were talking about when you want too much content from too many places. I also fear what happens when Disney owns enough content that no one else can compete, that everyone just does Disney, because why bother?
And what happens when you get to that point is the consumer pays more.
Right. And hey, we're going to have to leave it there. Great conversation. I'm glad that you brought it up because, as we said, that's going to be a huge, have huge implications down the road. Sandy, we're flat out of time. If you want to tell the folks where they can find more of your writing, more of your musings, this has been fun. Where should they go?
Please visit me at compukis.com. That's COMPUKISS.com. Also, if you'd like to see my weekly newspaper columns, you can go to thepilot.com. That's THEPILOT.com. It's a local newspaper, but we put some really good stuff out there, and I think you can still get 5 articles for free. So go there and see what you think.
Awesome. We'll put that in the show notes as well. And Sandy, until next month, thank you for coming on. Always a great show. And to everyone else out there, thank you for tuning into Computer America. We're flat out of time. And hey, if you missed today's show, check us out wherever podcasts are heard, and you can listen to today's show in its entirety. So until next time, folks, and we have a guest scheduled for tomorrow. Don't want to say who it is, but you'll have fun. Everyone, catch you next time. Bye-bye.